Hi everyone, my name is Monique.
And I'm Naveen from Before You Play.
And today we're going to be doing a two-player playthrough of a game called Critical Care, the game.
Yes, this game is designed by Lakshman Swamy, Vincent Chan, as well as Omari Akil, and published by Night Shift Studios, who are helping sponsor this playthrough. And in this game, we are taking on the roles of ICU doctors who are going to be working together to try to take care of some sick patients over the course of a week.
Yes, this is a fully cooperative card-driven game for 1 to 4 players that was designed by ICU doctors in order to simulate the ICU experience. And so today, we're going to start with a teach of the game, and then we'll go straight into our 2-player playthrough. But before we begin, we do need to mention that even though all of the medical terminology in this game is completely accurate, nothing in the video is meant to be taken as medical advice.
Now, before we begin, if you'd all do us a big favor and turn on your Klingon subtitles, just in case we make any mistakes, we can add those corrections there. Lastly, if you like these kind of videos and you want to see more in the future, please consider subscribing.
And with that, we are ready to begin. So if you'd please direct your attention to the center of the table, we're all set up here for a 2-player game of Critical Care, the game. Welcome to the ICU.
Oh, yes.
Now, like we were mentioning, in this game, players work cooperatively as ICU doctors in order to treat our patients over the course of 1 week. To set up the game, players are each given their own doctor's badge, and this represents you in the ICU. In addition, each player is given a patient chart as well as a patient card, who they are assigned to manage. Although, in this game, players are working cooperatively, so over the course of the game, we'll be able to treat all patients around the table. Now, the patient's chart is divided into 3 main sections. We have the left area over here that houses all of the injury tokens that you'll be gaining throughout the game. These tokens represent some of the different organ systems of the body that'll be affected by the patient's illness. And so here we have the brains, we have heart, lungs, blood, and the fire symbol at the very bottom here that represents inflammatory processes. Now, if you'll notice, we already have some starting injury tokens on our patient chart. And so during setup, each player is given a purple social determinants token. This token represents your patient having a higher propensity for a specific type of injury. So during setup, you should place your token on the leftmost space of the corresponding row according to your patient card.
So for Allie, your patient, that's going to be blood, and for my patient Marley, it's going to be respiratory.
Patients are also assigned a diagnosis card as well as a complication, which represents their past medical history. And so during setup, you should also add the injury tokens to the patient's chart that are shown on the condition area of the complication. And so in this example, I have 1 blood token as well as a brain. Each player is also given an injury die as well as a goals of care token, which should be placed at the starting spot of the goals of care track. And that is primarily it for player setup. Now, in addition to the player area, you'll also set up the nurses station board with the critical care nurse starting in the middle. We'll also shuffle the specialist deck and lay out a display of 5 cards, which represent the on-call specialists, and we'll shuffle the other 4 decks, including the code blue, therapies, pager alerts, and complications. And of course, because the game is played over the course of a week, we'll put a starting token on Monday. Now, like we were mentioning, this game is played over the course of a week, and so each round represents a different day in the ICU. Starting with Monday, each round or day is divided into 4 phases. We have rounding, followed by complications, therapy, and then consulting, most of which can be performed simultaneously. So then, each day starts in the rounding phase, which basically represents the healthcare team coming together to sort of analyze the condition of all of the patients that they need to treat. During this phase, players will simultaneously add injury tokens to their patients' charts, depending on their diagnoses as well as any complication cards. Diagnoses cards are divided into 2 main sections. We have the larger area that shows specific effects that only come into play on certain days, as well as the area to the left that details the injury tokens you'll need to add to the patient's chart every single round. Complications are also divided into 2 main sections, and any injury tokens listed in the smaller column also get added every single round during the rounding phase. Although any effects shown in the larger box are only resolved when the complication card comes into play. So for your starting complication, all of this text is ignored.
And so in Monique's situation, she's going to get these 4 complications, and that comes from the kidney basin, which is off screen.
That's right. And all of the injury tokens gained are placed on your patient's chart from left to right. So I would get a brain, an inflammatory token, a heart, as well as a lung injury. And all of these, again, are represented on my 2 cards. Now, if ever a row is full, when you have to add an injury token, you instead roll your injury die and place a token on that row instead. But if that section is also full, then you instead gain a black crisis token. And these are bad, because if you ever reach the topmost space on your crisis track, then your patient has a code blue and you potentially will lose the game. In addition, crisis tokens require you to draw more complication cards in the next phase. And so as you can see, my patient is quite sick. And so the object of the game is for us to work cooperatively in order to either completely heal our patients by removing all of the injury tokens, with the exception of the social determinants token, or fully progress their goals of care token to the very end of their track, which would represent us discharging the patient to hospice. The good news is that during this phase, players will also remove injury tokens for each of their ongoing therapies that they've previously played, and this is shown in the rounding section of the card. This may happen in future rounds, but more on this later. Once all players are finished rounding on their patients, then we move into the complications phase, which is also performed simultaneously. During this phase, each player will draw and resolve a complication card for each crisis token you have in your track, as well as one for your social determinants token, which means we're going to be drawing a minimum of one complication per round. Now, complication cards are drawn and fully resolved one at a time. But before applying any of the card's effects, you first check the condition at the very top of the card to see if the condition has been met on your patient's chart. And so in this example, I drew a lower GI bleed, which is terrible, but the condition requires my patient to have at least one blood token in the blood row, which unfortunately they do. If ever your patient does not meet the condition on the card, then you get to discard the complication. But unfortunately for Ali over here, this complication will stay with my patient's chart. Any effects in the larger box are now immediately resolved, and again, any tokens shown in the right-hand side is only added during the rounding phase. And in general, these effects are resolved from top to bottom, which means I'm required to add an additional blood token to Ali's chart. Alternatively, I can add a blood token as well as a crisis token to discard this complication and not need to add a blood token every single rounding phase. In addition, if my patient also has hematemesis, which is another diagnosis card, then I must add an additional crisis token. And so, just like in the hospital, patients sometimes experience secondary complications that may not seem related to their original diagnoses. And so in the game, this is represented by cards referencing each other. And we'll explain that in more detail as we play the game. And so as you can see, it's important to try to minimize the injury tokens on your patient's chart by the time you get to this phase so that you can minimize the amount of complications you'll need to actually resolve. Once all players have resolved their complications, then we move into the therapy phase. And actually, this is the only phase in the game that is done in turn order. During setup, each player is dealt a hand of 6 therapy cards, and therapy cards mainly look like this. But every now and then, you may be dealt a card that says beep beep, and these represent pager alerts. And so before the first player takes their turn, all players will announce how many of these beep beep cards they have in their hand. And for each card that is in all players' hands, each player must draw a pager alert from the deck and place it face down on top of their patient card. These pager alerts will be resolved at the start of that player's turn, and any beep beep cards are discarded and not replaced. So not only do these cards require you to draw a pager alert, but they also clog up your hand. So then, starting with the first player and going clockwise, on your turn, you always start by resolving any pager alerts. And these will represent any random events that may occur throughout the day, such as the devoted family, which allows you to discard 2 crisis tokens from one patient. So this is actually a really nice pager alert. Sometimes they're quite bad, but you sort of just have to roll with the punches. Afterwards, on your turn, you may play up to 12 hours of therapy cards from your hand, and the amount of hours are represented in the top left-hand corner of the card. These represent a full shift in the ICU, because in the hospital, especially in the ICU, it is very common for healthcare providers to have to work full 12-hour shifts, and that is simulated in this game. Now, when playing a therapy card, you must first choose the patient that you'll be treating, because in this game, all players may treat all patients around the table. Some therapy cards, such as this one, only have a one-time effect that is resolved immediately once you played it. In this example, playing the endoscopy card will cost 3 hours of my 12, but it'll allow me to remove 2 blood tokens from my patient's chart, which is really needed in the case of Ali Fryer over here. And anytime symbols are marked with a purple minus sign, that means any injury tokens removed are actually placed onto your doctor's badge as critical care XP. And this is including if I had played the therapy on Naveen's patient.
These tokens are going to be very important in order to spend them in the next phase, which will be consulting.
In addition, therapy cards may have one or more blue specialist icons, and these refer to the various specialists that we'll talk about later. Now, there are a wide variety of therapies in the game, and we'll explain them more in detail as we play the playthrough. But just as we explained earlier, some therapies will have recurring treatments, and these should be placed to the right of your patient chart. Now, once you've finished playing up to 12 hours worth of therapy cards, then you end your turn by saving any leftover therapy cards in the nurse's station, replacing any cards that may already be there.
So you're going to want to do this if you know that there's a card that's going to be useful for the next player or in the next day.
Right. Then you discard the rest of your hand and you draw a new hand of 6 cards from the therapy deck. Play then proceeds to the next player in clockwise order, and once all players have finished taking their turn, then we move into the final phase, which is consulting. During this phase, players have the opportunity to call in any on-call specialists that are available in the face-up display. Each specialist card shows a combination of injury tokens that we'll need to discard from our critical care XP badges in order to put them into play into the nurse's station. And so as an example, in order to put the respiratory therapist into play, we will need to collectively discard 1 lung token as well as any other token of our choice. And these tokens can come from any combination of players' doctor badges. And specialists that are put into play either provide an ongoing effect or a benefit that you can take during the consulting phase, or in the case of the respiratory therapist over here, who has specifically a respiratory specialist icon, they provide a specific effect each time a therapy card is played that has that specialist icon. And so as an example, on a future turn, if I were to, say, play this sedation vacation card, because it has the same specialist icon as the respiratory therapist, I can resolve their effect, which is removing 1 lung injury token from the patient that you played that therapy card on. And so as you can see, these specialists will be very helpful for helping us reach our goals. And that's essentially how specialists work. We're going to discuss them more as we play the game, but just so you know, at the start of the game, we already have a critical care nurse in the nurse's station, and they basically allow us to, once per patient during this phase, discard any 4 tokens in order to remove a complication from any patient. Or alternatively, we can discard 3 tokens to upgrade to an upgraded critical care nurse, who additionally allows us to add a crisis token to one of our patients' rapport. And so each player's patient has an asymmetric rapport bonus, and this represents the relationship that you're building with your patient. Anytime you remove specifically a black crisis token from a chart, you have the option of either placing it on your doctor's badge as a critical care XP, or on your patient's card as a rapport token. And if ever you fill in all the spaces in the rapport bonus area, then you can choose to discard all of the tokens to resolve its effect. And so as an example, this effect says the next therapy you play has its hours reduced to 0. But that's essentially it. That is how the consulting phase works. And I should mention that each player also has a once per game ability that allows you to tuck up to 2 on-call specialists under this badge and replace them with new ones from the deck. This is sort of a way for you to cycle through the deck a little bit more. And of course, once the consulting phase is done, then you move into the next day, starting once again in the rounding phase. And play continues like this until either all patients have been completely healed by removing all of their injury tokens except for their purple one, or you fully progress their goal of care token to the very end of the track, in which case you would flip over the patient's card and you would no longer need to treat them for the rest of the game. However, if any patient gains their 5th crisis token, then unfortunately we have a code blue. And the way that that works is we draw a code blue card from the deck for every player in the game, which means in a 2-player game, we'll need to draw 2, and at that point, players will need to discard from their doctor's badges the combination of tokens that are shown on all of the cards. If you're unable to do so, then unfortunately, players lose the game. But if you're successful, then all of the crisis tokens get removed, but now you'll place a permanent purple crisis token on the first slot of your crisis chart, and if ever you have a second code blue, then you lose the game. Now, hopefully that won't happen, but that's essentially how you play critical care. Now, before we start, I just want to mention that if you'd like to play an easier or a simpler version of the game, you can opt to not play with the social determinants token, and that'll make the gameplay just a bit easier. Alternatively, you can also play what's considered to be the core game, which basically ignores the rapport bonus, the specialists, pager alerts don't have any effect, and instead of having a full code blue, if you gain 5 crisis tokens, you just lose the game.
Okay, we are all set up. Everything has been shuffled. We each have 6 therapy cards in hand. We do have to figure out which doctor is going to be on shift first. The rule book explains that you're supposed to roll the die until you hit the crisis symbol, but we have decided to go with odds and evens.
Okay, what do you want?
I'll go evens.
All right.
1,
Ready?
2, 3. All right, odds. So
Odds,
Monique
okay.
will be taking first
So
shift.
I will be going first, but this is just during the therapy phase. Everything else is done simultaneously, but we'll probably go in a bit of a turn order as well. Now, before we begin, we do need to mention that the game was designed to be challenging, just like working in the ICU. And so there is a possibility that we're not going to win, but we're going to do our
gotta
best,
try.
right?
Yep.
All right. So shall we introduce our patients?
Yes, tell me about Allison.
All right. Well, first of all, I am Dr. Rizal, a DO, and my patient is Allison Ali Fryer. Ali has been diagnosed with cardiomyopathy, and she also has a past medical history of suffering a TIA. And because of that, she already has a blood injury token as well as a brain token on her chart. In addition, her rapport bonus says the next therapy you play has its hours reduced to 0.
Nice.
And I just need 2 crisis tokens on that to be able to use it.
Okay, I'll be playing as Dr. UMD, and our patient is Marley Pierce. Now, Marley is in the hospital today because she has hemothorax. That's what she's been diagnosed with the complication of ascites. So for that reason, she has a heart token right here. In addition to that, if you ever get a rapport bonus with Marley and you get all 3 of these filled out, then you can bring 1 on-call specialist of your choice into the nursing station, meaning you do not have to spend those tokens
Oh,
in order
nice.
to bring them in.
Very good. And so again, during the rounding phase, we are going to gain additional injury tokens on our chart to start our Monday, typical start of the week,
Sure,
right?
yep.
So for me, Ali Fryer over here is going to gain basically 1 of each
A little bit of everything.
token. It's the inflammatory token, a heart, lungs, as well as a brain injury token because of her past medical history of having a TIA.
Sure.
And then you want to gain yours?
Yeah, so we are going to add to the lungs, unfortunately. We also have a blood issue, so we are going to go 1, 2. And then I also, part of this complication, I have to roll the die and see what I get. So you never know what you're going to get with this.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and roll. And we have a complication.
You have a crisis.
Crisis.
Already.
Already.
That is quite unfortunate.
Now, you might see this text box over here. Now, this does not come into play during rounding, but if ever there's a criteria that is met during this, then I can utilize the text. So if I ever play paracentesis on this card, then I can actually discard this ascites card.
Right. Now that that's done, had we had any recurring therapies, we would get to apply their effects as well. But because we are still in Monday, of course, we don't have any yet. Now, I also want to mention that had either of our patients had any Monday effects, we would also resolve those on their diagnoses cards. But it looks like my patient has an effect on Wednesday and Friday,
Right.
and yours has on Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah, so every other day we're going to have
starting
something.
tomorrow.
Yep.
All right, so then let's move on to the complications phase where we are going to draw and resolve 1 complication card per crisis token and your social determinants token.
So you're definitely doing 1.
I'm doing 1,
Okay.
but again, we only resolve the effects if we meet the condition.
You do.
Unfortunately, I have drawn mucus plugging, and the condition is 1 respiratory injury token, which she does have on her chart. So this is going to come into play, and this says, my patient gains an inflammatory injury token as well as a respiratory token. Alternatively, actually, it says, or you may gain an inflammatory token as well as a crisis token to discard this complication. But you know what? It's really early. I don't want to have to draw another complication.
Sure.
So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to keep this. I'm just going to be gaining an additional respiratory injury token each rounding phase, which is not too bad, I
good,
suppose.
Yeah, not good.
Fortunately, my patient does not have COPD exacerbation because had she had that, then I would have gained a crisis token.
Yeah, that's a specific diagnosis card that she
Right.
does not have.
Yes, she has cardiomyopathy. All right, are you ready?
Yeah, so 1 after the other.
So you're going to gain 2.
Okay, this first one right here, this is going to be adrenal insufficiency. Uh-oh, that's going to be a big problem for me. So this one, I fortunately do not have to deal with it though, because there is no inflammation or a brain token. So
Yes.
I can just ignore this one altogether, which is great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so you do get another one though. So you must
second one.
fully resolve 1 card, which means if the first card gave you the tokens that are not going to meet the condition of your second card,
Yep.
then it comes into play.
Okay, what do we got here?
Pneumonia.
Okay, we don't have to worry about pneumonia
Nice.
because inflammation is not on my board.
That's
so
pretty nice.
that is good. So both of those coast is clear.
It's just discarded.
Yep. Okay, moving on to the next phase, we go into therapy, where Monique is going to be able to spend 12 hours, followed by me. But first, we have to figure out, do we have any pager cards?
I do not.
I have none, which is good.
Oh, nice. Okay, well then, starting with me, I'm going to work my shift by playing up to a maximum of 12 hours of therapy cards from my hand. All right, the first card I'm going to play is an echocardiogram. This is a diagnostic exam, and it uses up 3 hours of my maximum 12. Now, the only thing that I'm going to do with this is I get to remove a token of my choice because I'm going to actually perform the echo on my patient over here. The other symbol on the card is a specialist symbol, and no specialists really are in play right now, so we're going to ignore that. And after resolving this is going to get discarded because it doesn't have any of those the rounding symbols.
Right.
So, what do you think I should remove?
Well,
now, I already have plans to remove a blood injury token,
okay.
as well as maybe a lung, but right now I am seeing 2 lung tokens each round.
Maybe
so maybe
you should
I'll
get rid of one of those.
maybe I'll get rid of one of these. And this is going to go onto my doctor badge as critical care XP. So now we do have some tokens that we can start spending in order to bring on some of these on-call specialists.
Sure.
So this will get discarded, but I'm just going to keep it here for now to keep track of how many hours I have left. All right, next I'm going to administer blood products. So this is another 3 hours. So this is going to bring me to 6 hours now. It is a medication. Again, we're ignoring the blue specialist symbols. And so this will allow me to remove a blood injury token.
You're treating.
Although it does say this cannot be played on a patient with a transfusion reaction, which is a complication. And you can tell that because it's in red.
Yep.
And I don't have
Oh, you have TIA and
transfusion.
mucus plugging.
Well, actually, yeah.
So you're good.
We're fine. So I'm going to go ahead and place this on my doctor badge as well.
Okay, so you had 6
And
hours left.
I have 6 hours left, which...
I will be able to help you remove one of your 2 complications.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so then for my final card, I'm going to administer inhaled epoprostenol, which is
Okay.
a medication. It is 6 hours. And this is not going to do anything now. During rounding, it's going to allow me to remove a lung token. So that's nice because it basically cancels out one of the 2 the lung tokens that
Yeah.
I'm getting each round. So,
Okay.
all right, I believe that's it because that's 6, 9, 12. These will get discarded. And now the rest of my cards, I can choose to add to the nurse's station. And so these are them. I might as well put all 3 of them there, right? Because you can always replace them.
Unless you really wanted something in your hand.
No, you can't. So all
oh,
of
I
these
see.
get
Yeah, that's-
discarded. I'm
that's
going to
true,
draw a new hand. So this is really nice. If I can activate my rapport bonus, that reduces the hours to 0.
Yeah.
Because this is a 9-hour invasive procedure, a lumbar puncture after
yeah.
all. But it removes all of these tokens.
That's
So
CNS.
I suggest using that when the time is right. All right. So that is it for me. I am now going to draw a new hand of 6. And now it's to you.
5, 6. Okay, very good.
All right. Now, even though the terminology on all of the cards is medically accurate, you do not need to have any prior medical knowledge in order to play the game. But if you're curious and you'd like to learn more, there is a lot of text at the bottom of each card that explains everything in more detail.
All right, so then for my turn, I think I could help treat something. I think I could treat both patients here.
Oh,
so,
nice.
You have inflammation coming because you have the cardiomyopathy with 2 inflammation tokens here.
Right.
Let's go ahead and play some IV antibiotics for you because
Okay.
it's only going to cost 3 hours. It's a medication, and we get to immediately remove 1 inflammation token. So I have none, so we might as well use this for you.
Okay.
So that's going to be IV antibiotics, and go ahead and remove 1. If you had a UTI also from the patient, you would remove it, but we do not have a UTI complication.
Because you would treat the UTI with the antibiotics. And this is specifically meropenem, in case anybody's curious. So the injury token, you get to place
get
it
to
on
take
your
it, yeah.
critical care XP since you're the administering provider.
That's right. Okay, we're going to continue to treat Miss Allie over there. We have clinical reasoning. It's going to cost 6 hours.
Okay.
And essentially, we are going to remove any 1 complication.
Nice.
I think that the
This one?
mucus plugging, I think
Mucus
we
plugging?
should try to get that taken care of.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's do it.
The reason for that is instead of getting 2 lung tokens every round, now you're only going to have 1, which is good.
And because of the inhaled epoprostenol, it also removes the 1 lung token.
Nice.
So the fewer systems that are involved, the better
Yeah.
because of the complication
Complications, yeah.
conditions. Very good.
All right. Okay, and the final thing we want to play, we're going to administer some fentanyl. So this is going to be an ongoing one, and I think I'm going to do it on Marley over here. So let's go ahead and move this up. It's going to be my last 3 hours.
Okay.
And essentially, there's a couple things that are going to happen here. So we are going to be advancing the goals token over here. The amount of spaces equal to however many of these symbols that we see. So we're going to go up 2 spaces. And again, we can basically complete this patient if we get to the very end of the track. Unfortunately, I do have to take a one-time brain token, so that's kind of the cost benefit there.
Very good.
But hopefully we can manage that. The good thing about this, though, is now as an ongoing, I can remove one of these crisis tokens, which is going to be really, really important. Okay, so that is my 12 hours there.
Okay,
now,
so these get discarded.
Yeah, those get out. And then now I have these. Let's talk about this. What do we really want in our therapy bay?
Oh, in the nurses station?
Yeah.
So you can replace any of these, but you're
Right.
going to have to ditch all of them.
Right.
So, these are kind of nice.
are
This
kinda
is
nice.
12 hours, though. This is a really
That would
good
be
one.
great to pair with
My
your rapport bonus. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the wound nurse is just a better version of the PCC.
Yeah, it just costs
So-
3 hours more, but you get the ongoing removal of a blood token. So yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So
And then this change nurse, it's fantastic, but it costs your entire
yeah,
day.
I fear it's just gonna sit there
It
for
might
a
just
very
sit there
long
and
time.
clog. Yeah. So we'll get rid of that
Get rid
one.
of it.
What do you think about music therapy?
Yeah, let's replace the SWAT
Yeah,
nurse.
let's do it.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect. I mean,
Very, very
who
good.
doesn't like music therapy?
Yeah. And let's just form our discard pile over here.
Okay, perfect.
There we go. So I get 6 cards.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, very
And
good.
that ends
That's
the
it. Mm-hmm.
therapy phase. All right, so now let's go ahead and move into our first consulting phase to end the day. So I don't know if we have enough tokens to bring in an on-call specialist. What do you think?
No, but we could upgrade the critical care nurse.
Actually, you know what? We are eligible to bring in the speech therapist as well as the respiratory therapist. And the reason why is because they don't really require too much. The speech therapist is just any token.
Yeah.
And the respiratory therapist is just as long as you have 2 tokens, one being the lung injury token. If we bring in the respiratory therapist, anytime you play a therapy card that has that specialist symbol, you can remove 1 lung injury token from that specific patient.
Yeah, I like that because I'm going to have an ongoing lung thing and I have to roll the die every single time. So
Okay, that's not
let's
bad.
maybe do that.
The speech therapist, though, is kind of nice because this one says once per patient during consulting, a player may discard a token, a wild token from your critical care XP to remove a wild token from the patient.
Okay.
So that's kind of nice because that'll allow me to remove the lung now because
yeah.
this is going to block my incoming one,
Right.
but it's not going to remove the one that I already have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is leaving my patient susceptible to more complications. So what do you think about the speech therapist?
Do you want to do both and then just start using this on the next couple days?
But if we put this into play now, we can both prevent a complication potentially because you have a token that you can discard and so do I.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, and that'll still be out there for the next round.
Yeah, these ones, they'll still be on call.
Okay, we do need
So-
to help Marley though with her lung issues.
We do.
Yeah.
You should remove one now with the speech therapist. I'm going to discard my blood injury token to bring the speech therapist into the nursing station.
Okay, perfect.
So this gets refilled immediately, and now we have a psychiatrist who's on call. We
Okay.
just need to discard a brain token. And this says whenever you remove a brain token, you gain 1 crisis token in your critical care XP.
Nice.
So that's kind of nice and not too expensive to bring on.
Sure.
Okay, so this is going to get discarded. So now I'm going to actually activate the effect of the speech therapist.
Okay.
So it's once per
For
patient,
patient, yeah.
during this phase, and these can be activated immediately. So I am going to discard this token,
Might as well.
and in order to remove this one.
Okay. So,
So-
you're doing the wild for wild, which just happens to be the same token.
Yes,
Yeah.
a wild for wild, exactly.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and discard. I think I'll do this. I'll discard my inflammation,
Okay.
so that I can get rid of this lung issue right here.
Nice.
So that way we're in good shape there.
Very good. And we don't get those tokens, by the way, on our badges
Yeah, the
because they don't
specialist.
have the specific purple minus sign.
So that wraps up our Monday. We go into Tuesday. This is a second day of
Mm-hmm.
7. We do have a lot of work ahead of us. Monique is going to be maintaining first player, but we are going to go into rounding.
All right, so welcome to Tuesday morning. We are in the rounding phase, and first we have to apply any Tuesday effects, which I think you have.
Yes. So Tuesday effects. I am going to get inflammation.
There you go.
All right, and so that's what's indicated here. I gain inflammation. So
Right, because of
hopefully,
your hemothorax.
yeah, hopefully the complications that are going to be coming in have a bulk of a lot of different criteria.
Yeah, you want overly complicated
Overly complicated.
complications.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do not have any Tuesday effects, so let's just gain our tokens from our diagnoses.
You get a little bit of everything.
I do get a little bit of everything. It's going to be inflammation, heart, and lung. How about for yourself, for your diagnosis?
I get lung, blood, and then I think I have to roll the die.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and gain the brain token then for my TIA.
Sure.
And you're rolling the die
I'll be
for your
rolling the die.
complication?
Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck. Do not
Thank
roll
you.
a crisis token,
I
please.
agree. Blood.
Blood,
Okay, so now we are. I mean, it is fitting hemothorax. So
Yeah.
there we go.
That's true.
Okay.
Fortunately, we both now have a recurring therapy each.
Yes.
So during this phase, I can now remove the one lung token.
Yes.
But it does not have that purple minus sign, which means this goes back into the supply rather than on my badge.
Yeah. Have you seen what your Wednesday issue is?
My Wednesday. Oh,
Yeah.
I have not really
Doctors and fortune tellers at the same time.
honed in on it. That's unfortunate. It says
Yeah.
remove an active therapy. Maybe I'll play a therapy that I'm okay
Getting rid of.
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's see.
Okay, we are going to go into my active medication for Miss Marley, and we are going to get rid of this crisis token. And this does not go to one of us. This goes into the supply.
Right. And again, you know it's an effect that you resolve during rounding because of the circular arrow that surrounds the symbol.
In a round.
All right, so moving on to complications, we each only draw one per patient now because neither of us have any crises tokens. This is going well, I think. Wow, it was going so well.
It was going well. It was.
Unfortunately, I drew hyponatremia. My patient is hyponatremic.
Ooh, and something happens with cardiomyopathy, I believe.
The condition just requires them to have one heart token, which they do. And by the way, had this been a one blood token, they would not take it because your social determinants token blocks that spot. But unfortunately, it's heart. So first things first, they gain an additional brain token. The row is filled.
Yeah.
So instead, I am going to have to roll the injury die. And if I roll the brain, then I'm going to gain a crisis token. Let's see. Okay.
Inflammation. Ooh.
Ooh. All right.
Oh, Allison.
Inflammation. That's stressful. Okay. Oh, well, alternatively, I can gain the brain
You don't want to do that because if you read on, you'll
to
see.
discard the complication. Oh, no.
Yeah.
This is a true complication.
Yes.
If the patient has cardiomyopathy, which Allison does, I gain a crisis token. I'm going to hold on to
Crisis token is so.
and I'm gaining a crisis token.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, let's see what the complication potentially is for Marley.
For
On
Marley?
Tuesday, we have
Hyperkalemia.
hyperkalemia. Oh,
so
no.
similar but different.
Yeah.
You do have a heart symbol. That is the condition here.
It is.
So this comes into play.
Yes.
You're going to gain a blood and a heart token.
Blood and heart token. I'm going to go and just place these here. And unfortunately, because of the blood, I'm going to have to roll.
Oh, it's full.
Yeah, it's full. So, and then also, I believe, did I already roll for this? I did, right?
You did,
Yeah.
you did.
And then, so now because I was supposed to take on another blood and we're maxed here, I'm going to roll. So, wish me inflammation?
What?
Inflammation.
Wow.
There we go. You got to keep it light.
That
you know?
worked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, the other text here is if dialysis is played on this patient, then we're able to discard this. Very similar to if paracentesis is played on this.
Okay.
I would get rid of ascites. So I'm looking for those two kind of
Yeah, we're going to keep an
treatments.
eye out for that. All right, now moving on to the therapy phase once again. Do you have any beep beeps?
I do not have any beep beeps.
I do not have any beep
Okay,
beeps
good.
either. So I'm going to begin my shift.
Okay.
All right. The first card I'm going to play is actually from the nurse's station. I think it is time to perform a lumbar puncture on my patient.
the best time to do it.
because they are maxed out on inflammatory tokens as well as brain tokens. It is invasive. And so that is why probably it's going to be so many hours. It's 9 hours of my 12-hour shift.
Well, spinal tap.
This also has two specialist symbols, but right now neither of the specialists that we have those symbols, so we're going to ignore those. So instead, we're just going to remove all three
They all go to you.
of the
That's good.
brains. They do.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Very
a lot.
usable.
Yeah. This is great. As well as all three of these. So now I have 6 tokens on my critical care XP badge here. Now, it also says that if POCUS, which is the point of care ultrasound, was not played this shift, and specifically on this patient, because some procedures require you to perform an ultrasound, in conjunction with the procedure. And I did not do that. So that means
it's a form of a card that Monique
Yes.
would have to have played.
it's another card. And again, you can tell that because it is highlighted in orange.
Yep.
So that's what the therapy cards are. If I did not play that, I have to draw a complication. So let's see if they're eligible. It's a
Oh, good.
spinal
Nice.
abscess. This is great
That's perfect.
because it required an inflammatory token as well as a blood, and Allison has neither.
Nice.
Allison is actually in good shape right now
Yeah.
because if we can just remove these two,
Mm-hmm.
then
Yeah.
she'll be cured. So this is discarded,
Okay.
and that's 9 of my 12. So now I only have 3 hours left in my shift. I am going to play this therapy, which is actually a member of the staff. This is a family medicine intern.
Okay.
So I believe this card represents a family medicine physician who is in their first year of clinical training.
Getting started, yeah.
Yes, and the reason why I'm playing this is because I know that on Wednesday I'm going to have to remove an active
You're
therapy.
sacrificing the intern?
I am. We're gonna say, you know what, you can go home for the day,
Wow.
or for the week actually.
Yeah.
Well, actually, a couple of things happen.
You do, yeah.
The first thing is that same symbol. Anytime you see the goals of care symbol on a card, it means you increase your token up a number of spaces equal to how many crisis and your SD token, just like Naveen did. So I
Yep.
have a total of 2. So I'm going to move this
2.
up by 2. And so, as you can see, the later on in the game it gets, the more of these crisis tokens you have, the more you can progress up this track, basically. Now, while this card is in play, it says during consulting, I can exchange any number of tokens from my CCXP, which is here, for an equal number of tokens.
Oh, so you can make whatever you need. So like
Yes.
this lung thing right here, you can just say that brain is now a lung.
This is great, actually. We should take advantage of this
Yeah.
during this consulting phase. If I'm going to have to discard this,
Sure.
because I have a lot of tokens right now.
Yep.
Right?
I
All
like
right.
it.
So that's it. That's 3 plus 9. That's 12.
It's a full 12, yep.
So can you discard this, please?
Lumbar puncture, you were great.
Okay. I have 5 more cards in my hand. So what should we save? This one's kind of nice.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Heart.
hearts, a cardio version.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do you need any of these for your next shift? This is another echocardiogram.
Oh, toss that in there.
3 hours, yeah?
Yeah, put that in there. I'll probably use that.
Okay.
Yep.
And then should I replace any of these?
Remove a complication that forces you to take on blood. Nobody has that right now.
Well, is
but
anybody at high risk of... Let's just discard these then,
Yeah,
because
okay.
those are all pretty good.
fairly decent, yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and draw a new hand of 6.
New 6.
And now
okay.
it's back to you.
Okay, so Marley is definitely in need of some help with her blood tokens. So let's go ahead and do an endoscopy. So we have a 3-hour event here, or invasive procedure. We do not have this particular specialist symbol in play right now at the nursing
Right.
station, but we are going to go ahead and get rid of 2 of these blood symbols because I needed to do that. If not, I know because of the hemothorax, I was definitely going to have to roll the die, and I did not want to have to do that.
Nice.
So this does not have any ongoing therapy benefits. So I'll just keep it up here for accounting. For my next card, let's go ahead and spend 3 hours on this echocardiogram here. So I want to do it, but on your patient.
Oh, okay.
And let's go ahead and get rid of that crisis token.
Oh, nice. So
we'll
this is going to
we'll
go
bring it over to Dr. Yu.
to you.
Yeah.
So that's going to minimize the complications
Exactly, yeah.
For Wednesday.
Yeah, I don't want you to have to draw more cards than that.
Thank
so
you.
That's 6 hours.
Uh-huh.
The last 6 hours are going to be spent doing some diagnostics. We're going to do a CAT scan, CT scan.
Okay.
Which is really nice. Is this is an ongoing therapy, so I get to remove one of Marley's. I'm going to do this on Marley, by the way.
Okay.
And so what it basically says is I may discard any token from my CCXP, and then I can remove one from that patient, taking it and putting it onto my CCXP. So
Nice.
I'm definitely going to want to do this. Let's just have this as an active therapy here.
Okay. It's a stat effect.
Stat effect immediately. So
Yes.
this is going to come off.
Okay.
And then I'm just gonna clear off. I'm gonna take a gamble here. I'm gonna clear off this brain one.
Oh, okay.
I'm hoping that whatever I draw is gonna have a brain condition, and then that way I can discard it.
Nice.
I'm giving myself a chance. Oh, I'm gonna keep this. This is.
Oh, yeah, you keep that.
Yep.
And you also keep this.
I do, yep.
So that is an ongoing therapy for you. So that's a total of 12?
Total of 12. Yeah.
All right. So these get discarded.
They do.
Are you going to put any of your cards in the
Okay,
nurse's station?
so I think I really like this idea of that respiratory therapist.
Okay.
So what do you think about us getting this one out there? We get to remove one of the brain, one lung,
Mm-hmm.
and then also it would coincide with us using this.
With Dan Gavin,
Yeah, do you
the
think-
respiratory therapist?
Yeah.
So if we put this specialist into play, whenever you play a therapy that has that symbol, you can remove one lung from this patient.
Yeah.
Who's at risk of that right now? It's you primarily?
So my SD token is in lung, so I really only have a 2 capacity effort.
Right.
And unfortunately, this kind of lined up in a way where I'm always going to have lung coming, so I'm a little nervous about that.
Okay. So you would like to
kind
put
of would like
them
that
into
in play, yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
All
You're
right,
gonna
so
put
let's
that.
go ahead and just put this one here. And what do you think about just getting rid of a wound nurse for nitro instead? This is how we can get rid of a couple hearts. I see
Okay.
you're having an ongoing heart issue.
Yeah, I'm thinking
Yeah.
that maybe our plan could be to cure Allison because
it would
we're
be
pretty
nice,
close
yeah.
here. If you remove all of the injury tokens, except for the SD token, because this can never be removed, as well as all of the crisis tokens, then the patient's actually healed. Like they're good.
Yeah.
They can leave the ICU, and you'd flip over their patient card at that time, and we'll only be focusing on one patient.
Yep.
So that might be a good idea.
Okay. And now the other 2, I'm just going to go ahead and discard. I think we can just leave this right here. So
Okay.
let's gain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay.
All right, so let's move into consulting. Now, you mentioned wanting to bring in the respiratory therapist, right?
I think so, yeah.
So, in order to bring in Dan Gavin, RT, we would need to discard at least a lung
Which we don't
token,
have.
which we don't have.
But we have an intern.
Yes, our family medicine intern who is
I have an
about to
intern.
leave
Yeah.
has one job right now, and that is allowing me to exchange any number of these tokens basically for any other type.
Right.
I'm thinking. What else are we going to do besides this? I think we should utilize a
I
critical
would
care
like
nurse.
to get rid of ascites. I do not like this idea of rolling a die, especially when Thursday's coming soon.
Okay.
Then I'm going to have to roll twice. I don't like that.
So, with that knowledge, I'm assuming we're both going to use the speech therapist. Then we would only need to trade one
Just
of
one,
these
yeah.
for.
So you're going to turn in inflammation for the lungs.
Yes, and again, that is because of the wonderful family medicine intern who has joined us for the day. So I'm going to turn these 2 in
Okay.
because it's a brain and a wild. And now,
lung and a wild, yeah.
Oh, sorry, a lung and a wild.
no
And
problem.
now we have a respiratory therapist.
So you
who's
use the
working.
brain as your wild, but then you transition that into a lung. Yeah,
Yes,
very good.
exactly. So let's go ahead and refill this.
Okay.
Now we have a physical therapist.
Oh, very good.
This says once per patient during consulting, you may discard a token to gain a crisis on their rapport bonus.
Nice.
That's nice. Also, when the occupational therapist enters a nursing station, every patient fills their rapport bonus.
Oh, very
So
nice.
I don't think we've seen the occupational therapist yet.
It's another type of specialist.
It
that
is.
would be in
They
here.
are another
Yeah.
specialist, but the nice thing is we also have that once per game effect. We each have it.
Slide through.
So we
yeah.
could always tuck, 2 under whenever we
Yeah.
make some space. All right, so let's do a combination of my tokens and yours. So I'll
Okay.
do 3 if you want to
Yeah,
just
I'll just
discard
give you
one.
any one, just right?
Yeah.
There you go.
And that is going to be the 4 wild that we need in order to utilize a critical care nurse. So now you can remove a complication from any patient. So go ahead and remove your ascites.
Yeah, I think let's get rid of this ascites. I think we don't want to deal with it anymore.
And neither does the patient,
Only
I'm
one
sure.
fluid in one area.
So I'm going to use my last token to remove a heart injury token, probably. So utilizing the speech therapist, a player may discard 1 from your CCXP to remove 1 from the patient.
Very good.
So are you going to do the same?
Yeah, so I'll just go ahead and get rid of this. Let's get rid of the brain one, and then
Okay.
I will take out the lung one, knowing that I'm constantly getting lung.
Or do you mind leaving the brain just in
Okay.
case we decide to call in the psychiatrist?
Sure. So then I'll just take this the wild one out.
Yeah.
And then I'll get rid of this.
Okay.
And I meant a crisis token, not a wild token. Okay, that is the end of Tuesday. Now we're going into Wednesday.
Almost halfway through,
longest
right?
day, yeah.
Here we go. So we're going back into rounding. Now I have a Wednesday effect.
You do.
This is the one that we've been anticipating. We're going to
The
say
intern
goodbye
has been dismissed.
to the family intern.
You didn't follow protocols.
You've been wonderful. We utilized your services.
Thanks.
But unfortunately, my patient really needs the inhaled epoprostenol.
Sure.
So speaking of, shall we complete our rounds?
Yes.
So, as usual, the cardiomyopathy is going to have my patient gain
little bit of
1
all of it, yeah.
of each of these 3. But now I also gain 2 brain tokens because of her 2 complications.
Yeah.
Wow. I felt like we were doing so well with this
It is-
patient.
Yeah. It's a
But-
challenge.
At least you don't have to
I
roll
took the wrong one.
a die. How did this happen? I still have 1 of each. Oh, I guess I have this still, so I'll be
do.
able to remove it.
Yep.
Okay, done?
So I do have to take on a heart. I accidentally gave it back.
All right, there you
Thank
go.
you.
But at
And
least
I
you
do
don't
not
have
have to roll that die,
roll.
yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
Very good.
Okay, we do have some therapies though. So I'm going to remove the lungs.
Yeah.
And you?
I get to so I would be able to get rid of a crisis token
Yeah.
if I had one here. I'm never allowed to take this one out, so
Right.
unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to use that right now. But I can take any other token out.
What do you think? You're not looking too good. I
Not
mean, you only
looking
have
too
one lung.
Only one lung, so let's go ahead and get rid of this because I know
Oh.
for a fact I'm taking a heart on the next one, so I might as well. And I'm looking at my cards. Yeah, I think okay. I have some cards that can mitigate this. Plus, we have the nitro there.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and take out lung.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Nice.
All right.
Okay, let's see what we get. So we are drawing one complication each, right? Because we don't have any crises,
Yeah,
which is
that's
nice.
good.
So I'm going to go ahead and draw mine. And we have
Ooh.
bacteremia. So, this is actually pretty good. We're going to be able to dodge this
Oh,
one
nice.
because the
Okay.
conditions are
Yeah.
a blood token as well as inflammation.
Right.
And she doesn't have a blood token.
You don't have the blood token.
So-
You just have the SD token, which again does not count towards that.
Right, so
Very
this is
good.
going to get discarded.
Good. I'm looking for a brain complication, so that way we can discard it.
It is fluid
Not the-
overload.
Not the case, but we are in the same situation here where it's just the SD.
Yeah.
Thank you for convincing me to do this one.
Yeah, I was thinking the fewer systems
Yeah, no,
that you
that's
have, the lower the
very
risk,
smart,
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, again, that SD token, it's blocking the space. It does not count as a token towards
We
that.
got rid of ascites. There's no
did.
fluid overload.
Yeah, that's good.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
All right, moving on to the therapy phase, and it actually looks like we're doing not too bad for now. It's still
See?
in the
Yeah.
first half of the game,
Yeah.
so we'll see. But I just wanted to let you know that I have a beep beep.
Beep beep card. Okay.
Do you have a
I
beep
don't
beep?
have a beep beep card.
Okay, so
but
just one.
hopefully it's one of the good ones.
Now, again, for each beep beep card that any player has, all players must draw a pager alert. So we both gain a pager alert that you're
right.
going to resolve at the start of your turn.
Okay.
And now this card gets discarded, and I do not get to refill my hand.
you go into this one with 5, yeah.
blocked my hand.
But don't forget, these are out there, so
That's true.
Do what you must.
That is true. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go straight into my shift by first resolving the pager alert. Please be good.
Good. What do you got?
Superstar Clerk. Each player draws an additional 3 therapies.
Oh, nice.
This card,
This is one of the good ones.
this is one of the good ones.
Yeah.
Discard 1 and keep 2.
All right.
And the bottommost text here describes how the front desk clerk is a key team member. So I
Yeah,
actually
totally.
really appreciate
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
All right. So
So draw
Keep
3,
2?
keep 2, huh?
yeah, discard 1.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and discard this one.
Okay, I'll discard mine. I had
chosen
dialysis,
mine
by the
too.
way. But,
Oh.
one of us
I
had that
feel like that was
complication.
referenced
Yeah, I think we got
earlier.
rid of that complication.
Okay, well, that is it for the pager alert. This is now, I'm just going to discard it over here.
Okay.
And now I'm going to start my shift. And actually, I read one of the cards wrong. Do you mind if I have the CAT scan back,
Yeah,
please?
mine was dialysis.
This
so you want
is-
the CAT scan?
Yeah,
Okay,
I didn't want to discard that. I'm discarding
Oh.
but the bicarb treatment
Oh, I see.
instead.
It was a gain of heart. Is
Yeah,
that what it
it's
was?
gain
Yeah.
a heart,
Yeah.
not remove. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to administer vasopressors. So this is going to cost 9 hours. It's a medication, so I'm administering medication here. We don't have any of these specialists in play, and so I get to just remove the 2 heart injury tokens.
Okay, good.
So that's good, and this is an ongoing therapy. Now, I do have a heart that I'm going to
do,
be
yeah.
gaining, so it's going to be able to block that, which is nice. That's 9 hours, so I only have 3 hours left. I'm assuming you're going to take that, right?
Because this is a problem here because
Okay.
I know I'm gonna get more hearts coming in.
Okay.
So I would like to stop that.
So then for the final 3 hours, I'm going to play POCUS, which is a point of care ultrasound. This is performed at the bedside. I'm not really pairing it with any other procedures. It's just it on its own.
Yeah, you needed
So
that for your lumbar puncture.
I did,
Yeah.
but I didn't have it at the time. But it'll allow me to just remove any one. So, oh, wait.
I think you gotta go
yeah,
with brain.
I
it
have
has
to go with
be.
brain.
Yeah,
I was so tempted to remove that one.
I know.
I always feel like I'm so close, so close with Ali. Okay, so this is going to get
I know.
discarded.
Ellie is close, man.
Ali's
Okay.
really close.
Super close.
Okay, that is it. Those are all of my 12 hours. Can't remove this. These are not bad. Do I want to keep any of these? Yeah, I'm going to replace music therapy,
Okay.
actually, because I have a case manager, very similar. It's just that this card says all patients add a crisis token to their rapport bonus
nice, okay.
because they're a case manager
Yeah.
who will increase your rapport.
Sure.
And so all of the rest of my cards will get discarded.
All right.
Okay, so now it is to you. And don't forget, you have to start with your pager.
Pager. Please be good. What do
I'm
we have here?
manifesting good things.
Triage error. Oh. Interesting.
What?
Draw one diagnosis and replace your patient's current diagnosis.
How could you? How could they do this to you?
This
At the
wow at the
triage.
triage.
Okay,
What a
well,
mistake. Well,
we
that
didn't
means
even have.
I mean, we're going into Thursday. Maybe I'm happy about that.
Maybe you're dodging.
Maybe I'm
You're dodging that. That's pretty good.
All right, so we have a deck of diagnoses cards here.
Yeah.
So let's see what that's going to change all this.
Yeah, it is. We couldn't plan for it.
Oh boy. Okay.
Oh, wow.
We do have a Thursday effect. It's there.
Oh,
Oh, blood is going to be an issue now.
okay. Toxic
Inflammation.
shock syndrome.
Oh boy, I was not ready for this.
Okay, well,
All
the
right, well,
hemothorax gets
Hemothorax.
replaced.
We were treating the wrong thing this whole time. It
Nothing-
was actually toxic shock syndrome.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
Nothing else happens though. This is going to come into play in the next.
Unfortunately, that
day.
Thursday effect. I was really hoping like a Monday, Wednesday issue.
Yeah, combination, but
You know, going into Thursday.
didn't
but,
get lucky there.
No. What do you think about me playing my NG tube? Now that blood is going to be a big problem, 1, 2 plus roll, this allows me to get rid of a blood. I would have to draw a complication, unfortunately.
Oh, I don't know about that.
But what if we use the critical care nurse to help me, offset that new incoming issue?
Complication?
Yeah. And every round I get to get rid of one of the bloods. I'm going to have to take on 2 bloods this time.
You're gonna need to do this for sure. Why
I'm
don't
gonna
you?
have to-
Do you
Let
want
me
to do
that
that
one
first?
first?
The
Okay,
nitro.
let's
You
do
know
that
you're
one.
gonna do it, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna play Nitro
Okay.
from the therapy bay over here, and so I get to get rid of 2 hearts.
Yeah.
Stat: you may discard a token to get rid of another one. So let's just go ahead and clear
clear
them
off all those
1,
hearts.
2, 3. All of these go out. They're gonna go here, and then I had to get rid of my wild token,
Nice.
which would be that
It's a
one.
cardiovascular medication.
There you go. Yep,
Makes
Nitro.
sense.
Yep. So that's 3 hours. Okay, I have 9 hours to spend. I'm going to do both of these things here. So let's just do this first one. We have an IV team here. It's a staff card. And then, unfortunately, these do not match up with any of the symbols. We have not really utilized the on-call.
Yeah, this symbol
Specialist.
is
just
the
waiting
critical care
for us.
NP who's
Yeah.
waiting for us. Oh, if we put this card into play, or if we, I guess, call in the specialist, whenever you play a therapy that has that symbol, those hours are reduced by 3.
Yeah.
So this would have been,
a
3
3,
hours
yeah.
instead.
Okay, so let's just get this in place. So this is just an ongoing. I get to choose inflammation. This is perfect for this diagnosis. I can either get rid of a blood token or an inflammation, which is everything that I'm going to be getting over
Yeah,
here.
that is true.
So that's pretty nice. So I'll just place this one here.
Okay, you're supposed to place.
Sure, why not? I just don't want to, run into your complications.
Okay.
The last thing, we are going to be doing a very invasive procedure. We're doing an NG tube.
Oh, okay.
And so
Uncomfortable.
Yeah, uncomfortable. So we are going to go ahead and get rid of 1 blood token. Another blood token every round will be getting removed, which is great. So this will go to me. Unfortunately, we are going to have a complication
One
from this procedure.
complication. Yes.
Yeah,
Ready?
it can happen.
1, 2, 3. Compartment syndrome. Fortunately,
No heart.
no heart.
Perfect.
Yes, that would
Way
have
to
been.
convince me to get rid of that 3rd heart. Way to convince me. That was good.
Yeah, that's not bad.
All right.
And for your patient's sake, I'm glad they don't have it as well because this is quite painful.
Yeah.
So that gets discarded.
Ooh, compartment syndrome. Let's just go ahead and place Pocus out here on that spot, and then I'm going to discard all these cards.
Okay, because that was all 12, right?
That was all of it.
All right, so go ahead and draw your new
Yeah, that's right.
hand.
1, 2, 3,
That ends
4,
the therapy
5,
phase.
6. Yep.
We're going to go into consulting.
Okay.
Now we have, between the 2 of us, we have 7 of these tokens.
Yeah.
We are so close. Can we remove these? Is it
Can you?
possible?
Can you?
Well, first of all, do we want to bring in any new specialists or are we okay with the ones that we have? You may want to look at the therapy cards that you have in your hand or these.
Yeah.
So this therapy goes in line with our respiratory therapist.
does.
So you may want to just leave them
Leave the 2 together.
them there, yeah.
Yeah. We do have a spot where we can omit this and get
Another
4th one
specialist.
specialist. Yeah.
That's true.
How do you feel about getting rid of one of your issues over
Yes,
here?
I would
Yeah.
love to.
Okay.
Because I'll only be able to remove one of my injury tokens
Yeah.
via the speech therapist.
Okay.
So if we can block or if we can remove one of the incoming brain tokens.
Yeah, because you have nothing. You have no active therapies that help handle that. So every round you're finding a way to have to mitigate it. So
Yeah.
let's get rid of one of those.
Okay,
I'll contribute.
so that's going to cost 4.
4. Yeah.
We have 4, 5, 6,
and again,
7.
we're using the critical care nurse. We're going to spend 4 to get rid of 1. So
Okay, I'm going to spend these 2 then.
okay.
If you want to give me another 2.
Sure. Let's go 1, 2.
Please.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
Bunch of
So
hearts.
fantastic. I'm going to just discard this one.
Okay.
Really,
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter. They both do the
They're
same
very
thing.
similar, yeah.
And with this last token, I'm going to utilize the speech therapist's services. And I think I'm going to discard the inflammation because I'm going to gain one, or hold on.
This card is out there. Sedation vacation.
Okay.
So maybe,
Yeah. So I'll
maybe
remove,
that'll combat that.
Yeah.
That comes in.
I'll remove this,
Yeah.
the inflammation, because if I were to put the sedation vacation into
Yes.
play, I'll be able to, oh no, it'll allow me to heal another lung, not brain.
Okay.
So anyway, I'm just going to go with the decision I made already.
Yep. And I'm going to get rid of the blood token
Mm-hmm.
in order to get rid of an inflammation. Let's do that.
Nice. So that's a
we
speech
go.
therapist
Yeah.
as well, right? Okay.
Yeah. Or you know what? So that we have a greater chance of me not taking on another complication, let me take the inflammation back, but I'll get rid of the blood instead.
Oh, okay.
There we go. So now all I have really is just the inflammation.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Look at our patient
They're
charts.
close.
No, we're going to
Yeah.
go into rounding. We're
Rounding.
so close. I can't believe it.
All right, we're trying.
I can't believe it, honestly. This should have
Oh, yeah,
gotten
discarded.
discarded. Okay, so you only have one token left.
That's it.
Which means we probably can't do anything more. So let's move on to Thursday, right?
Yep.
Okay, so here we are. We're back to the
Rounding.
morning time. Let's go ahead and do some rounding. You have a Thursday effect.
I do.
So you have to roll that die. There you go. It's my die.
It is a brain.
It's a brain.
That was your die. Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Same distribution. There
Could
we
have
go.
been worse.
Could have been.
Okay, so let's go ahead and add our tokens. You have a new set of tokens.
I do.
So should we do them one at a time?
Sure.
This time, okay. So I get the fire, a heart, the lungs, and I get a brain. I'm just going to deduct my therapies now.
Yeah.
So it's 2 hearts, but I
So
only took
one.
1, and
1 lung.
the lungs. So that's pretty
It's not
good.
bad.
I only got
That's pretty good.
1. We can work with this. We
Managing
can
that,
try
yeah.
to cure Ali, I think.
Let's try that.
this round
Yeah. Then we can all be just focused on Marley.
on
after.
Marley.
Okay, so it's 1 inflammation, 2 blood, and 1 heart.
Okay.
But we are going to negate some of those in a second.
Oh, sorry,
but
I'm
no problem.
kidney
Yeah.
basin. So 1 inflammation,
Yeah.
2
2
blood,
blood and 1 heart.
and 1 heart.
Yeah. So for sure, I get rid of 1 blood.
Okay.
And then now I have a choice of either inflammation or blood. Seeing as I have 2, what do you think? Should I get rid of the
Well,
inflammation?
you'll be able to remove
The other one, yeah.
anything of. It doesn't even have to come from this next one. Doesn't have to come from the ones that are coming in.
Right.
You could use it to remove the
brain.
if you wanted to, but just keep that in mind.
Yeah. Let's get rid of the inflammation though. I think with this one right there.
Okay.
Okay.
So then these 2 you will take.
Those 2 I will take, and then I get to get rid of one of the wild ones.
Yes. So you're here now. You can get rid of anything of your choice.
Yeah.
So
I think I'm gonna just gamble with heart here because knowing that I am eventually gonna get most likely another heart anyway, so I might as well just get rid of this. So
okay.
now I'm looking for complications that have to do with the lungs or the heart.
Right.
That way I can
to
kind of
potentially
forget
avoid.
it. Yeah.
Okay, that is it for rounding. So let's move into the complication phase. We each draw 1.
One.
Again.
Let's see what you got.
Please. An RP
Blood.
bleed.
Oh,
Oh,
you're
no.
good. No, you're good.
It's a retroperitoneal bleed.
Yeah.
Oh, but you're right,
Yeah.
because I needed 1 blood. I don't
needed
have
to
any.
not draw that one, so I'm
So
glad you burned that one.
This
So
gets discarded.
off that goes.
Getting lucky. And then this one's for you.
Yeah, heart.
Ready?
Please be heart.
1, 2, 3. A UTI.
Oh, UTI.
Okay.
So
Well, the condition is a crisis token.
yeah, we
And
don't
you do not have
yeah,
one.
Perfect.
So this is going to get
Off
discarded.
it goes. Excellent.
Very nice. So now we move into the therapy phase. Naveen, do you have any beep beeps?
I don't have any.
I don't have any
Yeah.
beep beeps either.
Perfect.
Okay, we are getting really lucky
Yeah.
today.
There's not that many
It's-
in the deck. There's a couple, but
Yes. I mean, it can be unpredictable, and it seems we are doing pretty well right now.
Yeah.
So hopefully I didn't jinx it right there.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and go into my shift. And I'm thinking, if I play my cards right, I think we can send Allison home.
Oh, nice. Let's do it.
So
Let's
my
discharge her.
question to you is, do you need this diagnostic exam, the sedation vacation?
If it's gonna get you to getting Allison out of the hospital, then
Yeah.
have at it.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. I'm
It's gonna be
playing
6 hours.
sedation vacation. This is a diagnostic exam. It costs 6 hours.
So this is the first time we are seeing it link up with a specialist.
Yes, this symbol is on this respiratory therapist card as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so because I'm playing this, it says I can also remove a lung token from this
Yeah.
patient. Allison is doing really well
you
in that
really managed
in
the
that
lungs on Allison. Yeah.
department. So I actually would have been able to remove 2
Mm-hmm.
then. but that's going to get wasted. And I'm just going to remove the 1 brain token.
Okay.
So that's great. That's 6 hours. Next, to remove the other brain token, I'm going to perform an EEG.
Okay,
It's
there you
another
go.
diagnostic exam. It costs 3 hours.
Sure.
And so this is just going to remove the one brain token.
Very good.
There we go.
Okay.
So that's 9. And finally, for the last 3 hours, I'm going to administer IV antibiotics.
You gotta send him home
So-
with some antibiotics.
Yes, that is true.
course.
I remove an inflammatory token.
You wouldn't give him IV.
I
but,
mean, there's always this,
Yeah.
The point of care ultrasound, but I figured, that's already there. So if
Yeah,
you could use
I could
it,
use it,
right?
yeah.
So
more flexible.
that's everything. I have
Cool.
removed the final injury token from our patient, including all crises tokens.
Mm-hmm.
So then we get to transfer our patient out of the ICU. And I think I misspoke earlier. We're not curing her.
No.
She's just stabilized because, of
Stable.
course, it's the ICU after
Yeah.
all. So now we're going to go ahead and flip over both the patient card as well as the diagnoses. And I will still be in the game, but I'm only going to be helping you with Marley. I'm going
Marley.
to skip the rounding phase as well as the complications because, of course, this patient is now no longer in the ICU.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this can happen regardless of how many complications they still have.
Right.
So as long as all injury tokens and crises tokens are gone from the board, then they are stabilized. And that is the end of my turn. I think I'm just going to place this card here. I felt like with the
Steroids,
rest of
yeah.
my hand, none of them were particularly strong for Marley over here. So I'm just going to discard the rest of these. And I'll go ahead and draw my cards because I will still have cards throughout the game. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6. Okay.
Okay. Naveen, it is to you.
I'm looking at those steroids that you put out there. So it looks like it costs 6 hours. And
Uh-huh.
I get to roll the die 3 times, and basically for every die roll, you get to remove if you
Whatever's
roll.
showing.
If the patient has 4 of the crisis tokens, play this card for 0 hours. Okay. Let's go for it. Let's
Okay.
have some fun with it. So 6 hours.
Uh-huh.
All right.
So you're putting them on some steroids.
Steroids, yeah, medication. All right. Heart, the one thing I don't have. Very
Okay,
good.
good thing you can roll it
Yes.
2 more times.
Brain, okay. There
Fantastic.
we go.
So
Brain.
that
So
goes
that
on
does
your-
go onto mine. So that's 2.
Uh-huh.
And then can we get a third? Heart.
A third
Okay.
heart.
Hey, you know what?
All right. What?
Sometimes it's a challenge. All right. 6. Well, I'm going to play Pocus, which is the diagnostics. It's going
Yeah.
to cost me another 3
Point of care
hours.
ultrasound. Okay.
Let's go ahead and just get rid of blood.
Okay.
So it's going to be 1, and then So I think Thursday is going to be a big day in the hospital because we are going to play our last 3 hours here for another Pocus.
Okay.
And we are going to remove a little bit of inflammation from Marley. So that's going to come over to me right there.
Mm-hmm.
That is all 12 of my hours. And I believe I don't really need to worry about the therapy bay anymore.
Okay.
Because when we go into consulting, we have that speech therapist that can help us. Yeah, the speech therapist is going to allow us to spend any token
Mm-hmm.
in order to get another token off from our patient. So off goes this one. Off goes Marley's last bit of inflammation.
Nice.
And now Marley is ready
Stabilized.
to be stabilized. So Marley Pierce, very good. Diagnosis complete. Boom.
Fantastic.
There you go.
Wow, I can't believe we did it.
Yeah, I think
So quickly, we
we
got
managed the
really lucky.
complications way better than in past games.
Yes, and we got really lucky with a lot of our complication
did,
draws
yeah.
because we avoided, I want to say we
Taking on
avoided
some.
almost a majority of them, and usually that's not the case.
There was games where we had 3 or 4 complications, and,
Mm-hmm.
and you really had to manage like which specialists, which tokens you're actually going to use to get the correct specialist on the into the nursing station over there.
Right. And so there's typically a shift that occurs in the game. If your patient starts doing worse and worse and
Mm-hmm.
you gain more and more of these crisis tokens, then that is when you can really play cards like this because that is the optimal use for these symbols
Yeah, that's how you
because they'll
start
be able to,
moving them up this way. Yeah.
right, because sometimes the goals of care are
Change.
not, they change,
Yeah.
exactly. In fact, in past games, we have lost on a code blue.
Yeah, we did.
And this is, if you did not join us for the teach, if at any time any patient gains their 5th crisis token, then all players will have to draw a code blue card, and you'll have to be able to turn in the combination of tokens on all of the cards in order to avoid losing.
tough.
So these are pretty tough.
Yeah.
And we have had to face one of those before. Another thing that we didn't get to utilize was our rapport bonuses. So each patient has a different one. Mine would have been quite useful
Sure.
on those really, really expensive cards. But one way in which you can really fill up the rapport bonus quickly is with a physical therapist as well as the occupational therapist. I believe the occupational therapist card has the exact same writing. It's just that they reference the physical therapist instead. And in addition, there are a whole host of other specialists that we did not encounter because, we were able to make do with the ones that we had here. But just some other examples include a neurologist, we have a pulmonologist, a fellow, a trauma surgeon. So these cards are all modeled off of what actually goes on in the ICU. And again, we were demonstrating the full game, but for a simpler or an easier experience, you can opt to play without the SD token, or you can choose to play the core experience, which basically removes some of the elements for a simpler experience.
Sure. Well, there you have it. That is Critical Care, the game. If you have any questions about anything you saw here, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. We'll try to get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you all so much for watching the video. We hope you found it helpful. We hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, please consider subscribing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.